Genshin being a gacha game means it has a lot of characters. We currently have about 86 characters at the moment, and that number is only going to increase in the coming years. You'd think with almost 90 characters, it would be relatively easy to have characters interact with each other pretty regularly, and explore more than just one dynamic with them, right? Wrong. In this video, I will be discussing what are the issues that I have with the current state of interactions in Genshin and how they could potentially deal with them. Also, if you hear some random sounds in the background, there's a pigeon outside my window that's not leaving for some reason, just ignore it. What are the problems? Gacha games aren't particularly known for overtly strong character writing to begin with, so character interactions tend to only be between the characters and the main character. Despite Genshin having a harem fanbase of both travelers, either in the mean, both equally degenerate in my opinion, the game itself isn't very harem-y. While yes, a lot of characters like the Traveler, you could say all the characters like the Traveler to a certain extent, they're not all falling head over heels for them, except for a select few who have interactions that could possibly be more than platonic if you really wanted to read into it. Most are either friendly, genuine curiosity, or indifference to the Traveler. But I'm not here to talk about characters interacting with the Traveler. We get a lot of that already. Rather, different characters interacting with each other, with or without the Traveler present, mostly without the Traveler being present. I am not here to say that Genshin has zero character interactions, but rather not enough of them and not enough diversity in dynamics. We have friends and family, and that's pretty much it. No rivals, no enemies, no coworkers, or anything of the sort. And if Mihoyo really wants to keep character dynamics to these two only, that's also fine. They can still be creative with just two main dynamics. For family characters, they can explore happy families, strained siblings, close siblings, children of divorce, strained families. And for friends, we could have childhood friends, strained friendships, ex-friends, new friends, toxic friends, and possibly many more. And while I did have examples for some of these, for some of the ones I listed, most of them are rarely mentioned once the version their region is from ends. We have them, we just need for them to be more developed past the one update they were mentioned in. I think the reason why we don't see much development character-wise in Genshin is because Genshin's characters are already pretty developed before the Traveler meets them. Rather than meeting them at the beginning of their story, we instead meet them in the middle or ending of their story, leaving little to no room for character development. This isn't every character, but it is a sizable amount of them. I am not asking Mihoyo to develop every single one of their characters, but rather the main ones and possibly some of the side ones. The background ones can stay background characters. But even when a character's story isn't completed, like say Albedo, for example, all their lore and character development can still be pushed into limited time events with no parole. I mean, no rerun or wait for us to access it again in game. Basically, everything about Albedo was revealed in a limited time event, and based on what we learned in Simulankra, we are probably getting another limited time event for Albedo this December, version 5.2 possibly, which is also the version without an Archon quest. This isn't a leak, by the way, just basic deduction skills, and if I got it wrong, we can just move on from that. Other than Scaramouche, I can't really remember any other character that is getting their character development right in front of us. Back to dynamics. How can we fix them? Now, while character development may not be possible when a character has gone through all their trials and tribulations before meeting the Traveler, dynamics can still be developed. Older dynamics can be explored more, and newer dynamics can be made. If we can't get development with the characters themselves, at least give us some developments with their relationships. Simple way to fix it would be letting them interact more. I want to see more characters interact outside of their designated partners. Kaveh Al-Haytham, Eye Miko, Xiao and Traveler, Ito Kukishinobu, Albedo and Cleet. While it makes sense that these characters would interact with each other the most because of how important they are to each other, they should also interact with more people. Sumeru did a better job of showing characters having more than one person in their lives and relationships that don't revolve around the Traveler, but they still fell short because those characters only interacted with like each other. Mostly Kaveh, honestly. Thinking back on it, everyone else had a better ratio of who they interacted with, except him. Fontaine did something similar, but not necessarily during the Archon quest, more so in the story quests. Clorin's story quest was filled with, I think, Furina, Navia, Lini, 3 other playable characters. Emily's story quest had Tegnari. Other playable characters have been appearing more than usual in the recent story quest, so that is good to see. We get to see the main character of the said story quest interact with other characters in that region, or just other characters pertaining to that story. While the story quests are still kind of NPC forward, they are integrating more playable characters into their story quests. I want to see Xiao interact with Zhongli and the Adepti more often. He's coming out of his depressive state and is starting to interact with more people, so show it. In one of his birthday letters, he said he spent it with the Adepti. That's cool to hear. Can we see it? I want the next Lantern Rite to focus more on the Adepti and their interpersonal relationships and more Guizhong lore. I want A to interact with Sarah, maybe even Ito for once. She suffers a lot from Inazuma not being well written, her story quests not really fixing most people's issues with her, and her constant absence from events other than to appear next to Yaemiko doesn't help either. Ito and Kukishinobu's relationship should be expanded upon. They can also go into Kukishinobu's friendship with Kutosara, something I didn't even know she had. Ito's relationship with Toma and Ayato and the Blue Oni. Takuya? Yes, Takuya is his name. We have multiple characters that reference each other in voice lines, but we never actually see them interact, so they can start with those. Having more characters interacting with each other rather than NPCs all the time can help give the world more life and feel like the characters actually exist in the same world and know each other. I want to see them interact with the people they care about, or who knows, maybe people they don't care about. Maybe we get a character that's enemies with another character and we get to see them interact. Stuff like that isn't just Traveler, NPC, the character of the story quest. You know what I mean? Rather than having character-centric events where one character takes the main focus, we should have more events where a multitude of characters are present and talked about. The festival events usually do these pretty well. Considering we have 7 slots for those kinds of event, the O versions never have flagships, and the .8s is always summer event with a mismatch of characters that tend to work well. So we have 7 other versions where they can give us festival events, enough for each region so far, with 2 extra. We can have a Windbloom for Mondstadt, Lantern Rite for Liyue, another Inazuma festival like the Irodori festival, a Sumeru festival, maybe like the Subserus festival, a Fontaine festival, that's better than the Fontanalia Film festival, and still 2 extra versions for whatever Natlan festival they want to hold. And next year, if they want to do something similar, we still have an extra version for Snezhnaya. And besides, we don't always go back to each of the past regions every year, but it would still be nice to see older characters in their old region once in a while, or maybe even in a different region. I don't really care. I just want to see Mihoyo flesh out their older characters more. It gives an opportunity to expand upon the lore of that region and the relationship and dynamics of the characters in said region. And they can also make older event quests accessible to newer players or just anyone who wasn't able to play through the event quest when it was out. That way, they can shoehorn as much lore as they want into those event quests, and they don't have to worry about people not being able to learn about that particular piece of lore in-game. Mihoyo, if you're watching this, they're not. Please give us downloadable, replayable event quests, please and thank you. That is all I have for today. I will be making a video talking about some forgotten pairings or characters that I think should interact more soon enough, so subscribe to be notified when that comes out. Tell me your favorite characters or characters you'd like to see interact in the comment section below. I'm sorry if you could hear the pigeon outside. That is all I have for today. I already said that. Subscribe and see you whenever.